It is finally the start of riding season here in upstate New York, and so the BMW Bobber is going back on the lift. We're going to give her a little bit of a checkup. She's got about 600 miles on her already, and so it's time to do another oil change, check our valves, just make sure everything's kosher. More importantly, we're upgrading the entire charging system to one that is lithium battery specific. That way we stand the best chance we can for keeping the expensive anti-gravity battery fully charged and healthy for a long life.
Oh my gosh.
I probably wouldn't fill the tank right before you try to do that. We decided to go with an Enduralast 450 watt lithium specific charging system. This isn't a sponsored post or anything, it's just the best option that I thought was available considering the setup we're running. So, is it cheap? No, but considering how much we've put into this bike already, it would be a shame to go half-ass on pretty much anything else. So the last thing to do is just to remove all of the extra wiring that connected the stator to the diode board and the diode board to the starter, etc., etc. You'll also be able to remove the voltage regulator because this new unit is a combination voltage regulator rectifier. So if you're doing like a cool custom project and you're tight on space, that's something to consider. And probably my favorite thing about this whole product install is that since the alternator is permanently magnetized, you can completely ditch the generator light. If you didn't know, with a BMW, you have to keep the generator light or replace it with a similar resistance resistor. Otherwise, the alternator is never going to excite itself unless you go with one of these kits, and then you can just do away with it. So the next thing that I'm going to do is start putting parts back on. You can see the new rotor has this plastic cap on it. They tell you just use a little compressed air to pop it off, and it's exactly what I did. Now, if you haven't been this deep into your motor before, it's a good idea to take the time and make sure that your cam seal is still good. They do supply you with a new one if need be. Fortunately, this one only has like 600 miles on it, so it is still nice and fresh. After giving the end of the crankshaft and the rotor a good wipe down with some acetone to make sure that all of the oil is gone, go ahead and slip this guy on here. Should be a pretty tight fit. So that is probably the most difficult part of the install, just getting that whole thing bolted together. Obviously the rotor and stator are magnetically attracted to each other, so you got to keep a firm grip on it as you install it, making sure that that inner ring gets seated properly, that you are not cross-threading the bolts and stuff. But once you get it started, it's not too bad. So the last thing to do really is connect the regulator rectifier to your electrical system. And how exactly that gets done is going to change depending on your model bike and whether it's been modified like mine. Because this thing has a Moto Gadget M unit and no starter relay, it's actually pretty straightforward for me. I just take this red wire and I connect it to the starter. Everything else is pretty much good to go. So it's definitely worth, before you start to put everything back together, to just put the bike in gear, roll the wheel to make sure that the rotor isn't interfering, that it runs true. I'd suggest you pull the spark plugs for that so it's a little easier. And if that all looks good, you can put this whole thing back together. But I do think that this stuff looks pretty darn good. I'll clean this up and get another filter in there. Fill up the oil. And we'll take care of one more remaining item. That is, of course, valve clearance. I don't know how well the camera is going to pick it up, but there is a distinct metallic sheen. But it's really faint. I mean, it's a very good sign, like some metal after a fresh engine rebuild is to be expected. You're going to get that as the rings seat themselves in the cylinders. Not unusual. So overall, no real surprises there. That's a good sign. The engine has about 600 miles on it, and it seems to be running very strong and healthy. So really can't complain there. Yeah. Right now I'm checking, making sure that this motor, this BMW motor I built, is looking good.
Yeah, what are you doing? You do a test on it or what?
Yeah, but this place is just like, yeah, we're not going to say anything.